ERAs. The term ERA stands for Electronic Remittance Advice, but I prefer to think of ERAs as electronic EOBs. They're the digital equivalent of EOBs you might normally get in the mail. To start receiving ERAs, you have to sign up with the specific insurance companies you want. Once the insurance company receives and processes your request, they'll begin sending you ERAs instead of EOBs. ERAs have all the same information you're used to seeing in a standard EOB. However, the beauty of an ERA is that since they're sent as digital files instead of by the Postal Service, PSYBooks can read and interpret them for you. As a clinician in private practice, I can tell you that PSYBooks ERA tool has saved me more time and frustration than any other one feature. It's definitely one of my personal favorite tools in PSYBooks. So with that build-up, let's see how it works. There are two ways to access the ERA tool. One way is through the Tools section as a report. But I'm going to demonstrate my favorite way, which is with the Add Payments and Allocations tool. Most of the time, when you click this tool, the Type of Payment drop-down gives you two options. You can enter a client payment or an insurance payment. However, if you're signed up for ERAs, PSYBooks uses the Add Payments and Allocations tool to notify you if you have one or more ERAs waiting. The therapist for this demo account we've been using for all the other tutorials has not signed up for ERAs, so I'm going to switch to an account that does have ERAs to allow me to demonstrate. Here we are. Again, all of this data is fake, but the therapist for this account has signed up for ERAs. Let's look at the Add Payments and Allocations tool for this account. Now, when we click Type of Payment, in addition to being able to add a client or an insurance payment, we can also add a payment via ERA. Insurance companies send ERAs 24/7, and PSYBooks is set up to receive them as soon as they're sent. The fact that ERA is listed in this Add Payments and Allocations tool means that this therapist has received one or more ERAs that are ready to be processed. Let's click it and see what happens. And this is the ERA tool. At first, it can look a little intimidating because there's a lot of information here. However, once you understand how it works, entering ERAs will become one of the easiest things you do in PSYBooks. This top part holds all of your filters. For example, we can limit the ERAs we view to a certain date range, to certain insurance companies, to certain clients. We can also choose whether to view only archived ERAs, unarchived ERAs, or all ERAs. And finally, we can sort by claim date or by payer. However, most of the time the default values are what we need because they're set to show us any ERAs that we haven't yet processed. When I access the ERA tool via the Add Payments and Allocations tool like we just did, I don't even bother looking at this top part because I already know it's set to what I need. So let's scroll down to the bottom part of this report, which is where the actual ERAs themselves are. I'm going to start by clicking this Hide Sessions for All Claims button. This isn't something I would do if I were just coming here to enter my ERAs, but it will help me explain the form to you. With most of the detail of the form hidden, it's easier to see exactly where your ERAs are. Each of these rows is the equivalent to one EOB you might receive in the mail. All of these happen to be from Medicare, but that's just a coincidence. Any insurance company can be listed here, since we have our Claims Sent To filter set to all insurance companies. If we wanted to, we could click the Claim Date link and pull up the actual CMS form we e-filed to the insurance company. the one that generated this particular ERA. We could also click this link called ref file, short for reference file, and you'd see the actual text file that the insurance company sent to PSYBooks. However, most of the time you don't need to do anything with either of those links, so we're just going to move on. These claim lines also show us the total that was billed on each of the claims and the total that the insurance company paid. Now I'm going to unhide the rest of this form by clicking the Show Sessions for All Claims tool. Notice that when we do, each of these claim rows we've been examining is still here, but now each has session details filled in underneath it. This example is a bit atypical in that each of these sample ERAs is a payment for a single session. Now let's examine one of the session rows. Each of these rows has the date of the session, the type of the session or CPT code, the client's name, the amount allowed, the amount applied toward the deductible, the other insurance adjustment, if any, the second insurance billed amount, if any, the amount we can bill the client, and the amount the insurance company paid, which in this first ERA is $67.43. There's also a Show Details tool we can click that will show you what I call the fine print of an ERA or EOB. And as with almost all forms in PSYBooks, there's also a way to add a note to this particular ERA. There's one more thing I want to do before I show you how to actually use this tool. Let's see if we can locate this particular session in the client's chart. The client's name is Janet Clark, and we're looking for a session on 11/3/14 that was e-filed to Medicare. So let's close the ERA form and go back to Janet Clark's chart. Since everything pertaining to Sessions, Claims, and Payments is on the Sessions and Payments tab, we'll click that. And here's the 11/3 session date. We can see that it was e-filed to Medicare. This E stands for e-filed. The thumbs up icon lets us know that Medicare both received and accepted our claim. We can also see that so far no payments have been received on this claim. All payments would be in this green area here. Notice also that the session balance is listed as NA, not applicable, because since no insurance payments have been posted to the session, we can't compute its balance. Also, at the top of the balances column, we can see that the total account balance is $134.59 and the total amount the client owes is $67.16. Let's make a note of those figures so we can come back in a bit. Now let's click the Add Payments and Allocations tool again and select ERA. And I'll show you what I do when I enter ERAs for my own clients. When the form opens, I scroll down and scan the first ERA to see if it looks accurate. Once you get used to looking at this form, you can scan it in just a couple of seconds. If it looks okay, I click Save. And that's it. This ERA is now saved in the client's chart. That's PSYBooks' one-click ERA feature. Now let's go back to Janet's chart and see what's happened there. Here's the 11/3 session, and notice that now the ERA payment of $67.43 that we just processed has been entered here, and all balances have been adjusted accordingly. The session balance is now $18.58, whereas before it was NA. The account balance, which was $134.59, is now $153.17, and the client balance, which was $67.16, is now $85.74. You may be wondering why the client balance went up instead of down since we entered a payment. The reason is because before we entered the ERA, this was an NA session, so nothing had yet been billed to the client, nor had anything been added to the account balance. Once we enter the allowed amount and amount paid from the ERA, PSYBooks can now compute the amount the client owes on this session, which is $18.58, and that amount was added to the client balance at the top. And that's it. You've just seen PSYBooks' one-click ERA entry feature. It's a huge time saver over receiving EOBs in the mail and entering everything by hand.